And all right, so there we go. I hope I got the audio working for you guys. You can, if you're over on YouTube watching this, which I hope you are, you can chat with me direct. I have a chat that comes up on my screen. I'll try to keep track of that if I can. But tonight we're going to be looking at Phase 1's Capture 110 and an alternative to Lightroom. So this is an Explorer. I just got this software, so I'll be looking at it kind of like you would if you just got it as well. So I thought you guys would like to sit in with me on that and kind of maybe enjoy the overall experience. All right, so I'm going to turn off my camera because I'm going to be looking this way. If you guys have anything to say to me, just go ahead and throw it in the chat on YouTube. I'll try to catch it as I can. I'm going to try to keep an eye on that if I can. So, throw your stuff in there. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you can also join me for the after party, which is going to be a Google Hangout, a private Google Hangout for Patreon subscribers only. And we can do an question and answer session if you have any things you'd like to see that I didn't cover on the software or I didn't discover, and we can discover them together. So that's going to happen after the show. If you haven't heard about my Patreon, make sure you check that out. Head over to patreon.com/The Explorographer. I know the opening screen said something about learn.theexplorographer.com. I don't know if that's ready yet, so that'll be ready soon though. But yeah, patreon.com/The Explorographer and learn photography with me. It'll be awesome. Lots of fun. All right, let's dive into this and see what we can see. All right, so I have some photos called up here from, and I apologize ahead of time. I'm actually printing something in the background. So if you guys are hearing this, you're also hearing my printer go crazy in the background. So, hey, hi, Janice. Thank you so much for joining. I see you out in chat. All right, this is Phase 1, Capture 110, version 10. And I'm going to just start like from the beginning. Now I jumped in here and I have to admit, I did load up my catalog and play around with it a little bit. And I like the fact that it'll bring in settings from Lightroom. I think that's pretty cool. So if you already have edits, you're not going to lose anything or have to start over. That's kind of cool. So we're just going to import, I think, let's just import a catalog and see how quick that goes. Because everybody's usually, it's all about speed when it comes to these types of programs in your workflow, right? So let's just see what the speed looks like. All right. Let me just make sure. I don't think you guys are hearing anything else other than me, I hope, and the printer going in the background, of course. All right, so let's go ahead and click here. We're going to add a folder. And let's see. I got Windows on top of Windows. So let me just make sure I'm all in the right. Yeah, there we go. All right. So let's add a folder. There we go. And let's look at 2016 travel. And we're just going to go ahead and add the Albany folder here. So I went ahead and added that in. And as you can see, it popped up right there. And we don't have anything here yet. So we'll wait for those to import and do their thing. Now keep in mind, I'm also running streaming software here and all sorts of stuff. And I bet you anything, I did not select any subfolders. Let me get to the bottom of this thing here. There we go. Let's see if it does that way. There we go. Ta-da. Yes, all right. So let's remove all those. See, I'm discovering just like you would. All right, so we deleted those. All right, so we want to import, and I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to click inside there. That should be everything. There should be pictures in there, I hope. Not sure. I imported things earlier, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. So let's try it this way. Haha. Let's delete that. No images. All right. We have that folder, Q, and add. All right, photo storage. I have backups of all of these, so everything's good. Let's do this one. All right, try that. See what happens there. Of course, it wouldn't work when I'm showing everybody. That's always cool. Very strange. Before when I did this, it just added the photos quickly. So I'm not sure if it's because I'm streaming and doing all this stuff at once or what's going on. So we will just let that go, and we'll take a look at what I have already brought in here. So we want to look at some raw images. So here's some raw images from a trip that I took in August of 2016 to Acadia National Park. And one thing I noticed about this software is it's really fast. So for some reason, like, you know, when you're working with Lightroom, it tends to take a while to zoom in or to look at something. And this seems to snap the photos quite quickly when you zoom in or zoom out. I think that, you know, one of the things that I enjoy about any of these type of pieces of software or anything like that is that I really want to, I want things to stay out of my way of creativity. I want things to, you know, kind of be as quick and easy to use as possible. Hey, Barry, how are you doing tonight? Jamie, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you being here. So awesome. All right. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing you guys' your like little chat down here at the bottom. Normally I do. Let me just see if you're in there somewhere. It is live chat. I had some trouble setting this up earlier, so let me just see if we can get this set up properly. There it is. That's the chat we want. Hey, look, there it works. So I couldn't set this stuff ahead of time. I have to wait until the stream is going, which I find very strange to deal with this software. So yeah, so you guys can bear with me just a little bit. We'll get everybody's chat in here so that we can see you. Let me just, this is all straighten around. Put that up there. Put this down here. Not sure which end of the chat box that you guys are going to see, but we'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get it. Don't worry. Told you this was my very first broadcast, so there you go. All right. Not sure how that works. So I fixed it by breaking it even more. Awesome. All right. You guys know to expect craziness when you hang out in my my streams, so that's what you get. You get crazy. So there we go. All right, we can see Janice's hi Barry. I'm not sure. I think this scrolls to a certain point and then stops, and I'll figure it out and we'll get it all wired up properly. So anyways, back to the software. One of the things I noticed is that it's really fast, and I really enjoy that. There's some features. Let's get into talking a little bit about the features that are offered up to your camera. Now, what you're going to see here is for the Sony, but this would, you know, be for a Nikon or Canon camera is going to be the same way. So one of the things that I noticed right off the bat was the exposure evaluation. I really like that a lot. Shows me that the image automatically just shows me that it's underexposed a little bit. So you can see right here that it looks like it's, you know, about a 0.6 of a step below exposure, which it was a long exposure with an ND filter on. But that's great because now I can just jump into the exposure settings, and in here I'm able to bump this up and almost be guaranteed that if I bump it up by 0.6, I'm at perfect exposure. So I really enjoy the fact that it gives me that kind of visual feedback and tells me, you know, exactly where we're looking at here as far as light capture and whatnot. Some of the other features that it has a live tether, so you can actually control your camera, depending on the model, of course, by hooking up your camera and controlling it here from the live tether, which is great if you're in a studio situation and you want to do your capture that way. It works out really well. I know that Janice out there, I know that she does a lot of macro photography, and this would be a great way to capture directly into the software and doing macro shots and be able to control the camera from the focus and everything right from the desktop, which would be kind of cool, right? All right, so let's move on and let's look at some lens profiles. Now, one of the things that I saw here was really cool was that we have the standard profiles. Now this, I'm not sure what lens here I was using. This probably was a vintage lens. Let's try to find something that I was actually using my 16 to 35 on. I think that might have been in here somewhere. Let me just scan through really quick. Here's a picture of Greg. He was along on the trip. So it looks like, I don't know if I did use that lens on any of these shots. I had the vintage glass out for a lot of this day, I will be honest with you. So let me just take a peek, because I know I did use it in some certain shots. Let's find something. I was working on some lighthouse shots earlier, and I probably should try to get back to those. I really had a lot of fun using, okay, now I know I'm using a 200 millimeter lens here, because I was just messing around with that. So let's look at that. All right, so yes, the Sony 70 to 200. Now, some of the things that I found were kind of neat was the diffraction correction, and also there is an ultra fine sharpness control, which I thought this was standard sharpness, but it really isn't. If you look at what this does, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not, but if you look at it live on your monitor, it does a pretty amazing job at almost like refocusing the image, which I think is pretty cool. But it can make that nice and sharp. This really awesome lobster boat here pulling through Maine. So I actually shot this off the deck of another boat as we were heading out to sea. So it does a really nice job at that. It also does a great job at the light fall off that this lens, most 70 to 200 lenses, especially if you're zoomed in quite a bit, can lose light around the edges. So it does a nice job of correcting that as well. The other thing that I noticed that was awesome, let's go back and look really quick. This looks like it was nearer to a good exposure, very close, close enough, I would say. One of the settings was the LCC, which the LCC here is a lens cast calibration. I think this is pretty cool. So you can actually create this, and it will create a dust removal information, which is awesome, and wide angle with movements. So it basically will try to fix any sort of blurry area that you have. The other thing that it does, which is crazy, is this uniform light setting, which is pretty nuts. But what it does is it basically tries to like flatten the light on the image, which gives you a whole bunches of different controls that you can do. Now, like for here, I see the color cast that it's putting around the boat, so we just turn that off. But this, what I really like about the uniform light is that it really can flatten an image out quite a bit and bring a lot of dynamic range when you start doing your processing, which I think is really cool. So let's look at let's look into the processing and how this can kind of give you an extra hand. So let's pull back the highlights now. We can boost the shadows and pull our exposure back a little bit. And suddenly we start seeing a lot more contrast. Now, this is different from Lightroom. It's not, it's a little bit, may seem unintuitive, I think, at this point, simply because I'm so used to Lightroom and using it all the time. But for me, I always look for a software that gives me an edge or helps me be creative. And the settings are fairly easy on this, that I'm finding that I'm kind of making more creative images. So you can ramp your histogram levels here, which I think is really cool. So we can pull up and make it real hot. We can change where the peak is in the middle. You can see my histogram in the top moving around quite a bit there. This controls contrast in the highlights. So we can kind of pull this out a little bit, or we can push it back. We can do the same thing in the shadows. So you can see we can really pull in the shadows here. And this is a balance, by the way, between the two. So I think it's pretty neat that you can make a super contrasty image just with a few simple adjustments. And I love the ultra contrast. It's always kind of my favorite thing. But you have to be careful. Sometimes you end up with, like here, we can see that there's a peak in the histogram. So we'd want to pull that brightness back a little bit and kind of give this a little bit more of a print ready kind of thing, ready to go. And pull the gamma back a little bit more towards center. And there we go. So a lot of really easy adjustments, I think, to make a really punchy image, which I like that a lot. And of course you have, you know, your structure controls. You have your clarity, just like you do on anything, any other program. Structure is more like dehaze a little bit, so that's kind of cool. And of course, you also have some adjustments that I found in here when I was playing with this earlier for local adjustments. I want to show you those because those are pretty cool too. Let's just really quick set our white balance. I want to set my white balance for the boat. It looks like it's a little off. Let's find if we can. So you can kind of see how like the sharpening can over sharpen too. So you want to be very careful with that. I think the side of the boat might be gray. It looks a little blue to me. Let's just check it out with daylight. Well, it looks like it might have been a blue day, huh? I think it was. We were whale watching on this day, so it was pretty cool. You also have color balance, which is really nice. You can control, using this color wheel, you can control what the colors look like in your shadows. So if you feel that your shadows are a little too blue, which I think they are here, you can actually warm those up by moving the center more towards a warm area. So now you can see that over here in your shadows are starting to get a little bit warmer, and you're losing that blue cast a little bit. And then you can also do the same with the highlights. So if you want to warm the image up, we can move the highlights more towards the yellow. You can move it towards any other color too, by the way. So you can go all the way around and basically dial in whatever color you want. But say we wanted to warm it up just a little bit, make this a little warmer image. Very intuitive, very simple to do, and very easy to use controls, I think. And it's really nice to see that in a software. I'm still struggling a little bit with learning On1 Photo Raw. It's not as intuitive to me as this is. This seems to be much more intuitive. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about the cataloging as well. I know a lot of people are interested in that as well. This is a cool feature too. The straighten here is quite fast. Brings up a little icon like that, and you just basically draw a line, just like Lightroom. You draw a line where you feel your horizon should be. You guys know I'm a stickler for straight horizons. And there we go. And it goes ahead and straightens the horizon just like that. And that's all there is to it. And you end up with a nice straight photo. So all very intuitive, I think. I kind of like it. Let's talk about local adjustments, because these are a great feature as well. So it took me a little playing around with this because I really wasn't sure. But the way that this does local adjustments is you have a master adjustments on what they call the background layer. So you could come here and skip all those other adjustments and just come to this page and do all your standard Lightroom adjustments. So you can do your curves here just like you normally would. So if we just go back here, let me just zero everything out really quickly. Let me just zero all this stuff out. So zero out is this icon right here. That sets everything back to 0. So there we go. That's everything there. Let's go to here. We're just going to reset. I just want to show you how this works. So, oops. And you can copy settings. That's always cool. You can copy between photos, which is really awesome. All right, so if we go to the local adjustments, which is just the brush here, you can see that I can set all of these settings to what I want the background to look like. So this would be like the master layer, just like Photoshop, right? That we can do this in Photoshop, which I think is very cool. So we can set all these adjustments, set our white balance, the whole 9 yards. And then what we can do is we can now do local adjustments on top of that. So let's say that we want to do an adjustment for, the background here. So we can come up here and we can do another layer, and we can choose to do a gradient mask. And I can pull down a gradient mask. Oops, get on that. Gradient mask is G, by the way, if you want to just hold down the G key. If I'm holding down the Shift key right now, it allows me to draw a straight line. So it locks me into a straight line, which is always nice for gradients. So let's just go ahead and make our gradient there. You can see that it highlights and shows you the mask briefly. Now I didn't do anything. It just showed me what the mask was like. If I hover over the dot and click on it, it will show me what the mask is again, so I can see that what that does. Now you can see up here in the local adjustments box that adjust is lit up and layer 1 is lit up. So now any adjustments that I do will only happen to that layer. So I can darken just that area. And the thing I love is it's so fast. It's like Lightroom, I'd be doing this and I'd push a slider and wait, and then the adjustment would happen. So it's quite nice to be able to finally, kind of see this happen in real time, I guess. You can adjust your clarity so it's maybe not as clear up there, so it acts a little bit more, it's foggy out. And like if you want to, again, we want to do another adjustment, maybe we want to adjust just the boat, we can mix now. Let's go to a draw mask, which is B on the keyboard, by the way. And if I want to here, I can actually draw over the boat. I'm using the bracket keys to make my brush smaller. So all the same adjustments that you'd use in Lightroom. I'm just going to do this very rough, but you're kind of going to get the point of how I would do this. But I'm just going to go over this boat really quick. So maybe the boat was a little too bright, and I want to make the boat a little darker. I can now, on a new layer, which I need to add a layer, sorry about that, and I will go ahead and draw now. I just going to remove that layer. Forgot to add my layer before I started. So I'm a human, kick me out. All right, so we have a layer here with this on it, so we're going to erase that. Just going to delete that layer. And we're going to go ahead and, this is the layer that I used the brush on. And I can now pull back that boat just a little bit. And you can see, my mask isn't perfect here, and you can go ahead and dial this in with the erase brush and get the mask just perfectly set to the boat. But it allows you to do a nice local adjustment, which I think is great. Now that's, mind you, the mask with a rough brush. You can also feather the brush and make it a softer mask. If we right click anywhere on here, we will get this window pop up, and now we can go with a soft mask. We can go with auto masking, which I probably should have turned on, and we can, let's just delete this one out of here, and let's do this. We'll delete that. We'll try out, we'll see what their feature is for this. Let's see what the feature is with the auto mask. Let's see how good it is. So let's just be pretty sloppy here. Okay, it looks like it's going over the edges a little bit. That might be because of the size of my brush. I'm not sure what too much on the let's try that again. Let's do this again. Let's make this smaller brush this time and try it. See what we get. Yeah, so it's targeting what's in the center circle, the center hard circle, not the soft circle. So as long as I stay, pretty much it looks like on the colors that I want with the inner circle, then I'm able to control what I want here. Let's just test this out really quick. Let's make it really tiny and see if that works here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now we'd be able to make those adjustments. As you can see, there's no overflow now, I don't think. And I can control just the boat and get the boat exactly the way that I want to. So the layer adjustments and the masking is quite a powerful tool here, because every single mask that you make, you can actually use all of these controls on. You could have a different white balance. I don't know how many times I've run into having a white balance in a part of photo that I couldn't deal with, and this allows me to essentially put the white balance where I want it in different areas. So if I want, let's just do it for instance, if I want a white balance up here at the top of this photo, we'll make the brush nice and big here, and there we go. And we're going to turn off the auto mask. And so say we're going to just take the top of this photo and we want one white balance up here. So we're going to do that, and we can go ahead and select here, and I can go ahead and change that tinting of the top up there. So you can make it a real warm white balance. And then if I want to make another layer down here at the bottom and paint in again for just the boat, I can do that, and then I can change to a different white balance down here. So if I want it more blue, I want to bring out the rich blue. So it allows me to just basically put any of this stuff anywhere that I really want to. And I think that that's another really strong feature of the software. Let's talk a little bit about output. You can export the same exact way. You can pick a folder and it'll process the photos. You can process many photos at once by selecting the first photo and the last photo. So we select many photos. You can go ahead and rate those photos. I think it uses the same system. Yeah, the 5, the number keys on the top. And then you can go ahead and export, and all of the photos that are selected will export out to the folder that you designate it to. So that's kind of nice. That works really great. I think that the eyedropper, it has an ability to, I believe, to copy settings from one photo to the next, which I think is pretty cool. So you can just you can go ahead and clone or copy and then paste it onto a brand new photo. Let's just see if we can do that really quick. I think it's going to clone a variant. I think it's going to make another photo that we can edit. Yep. All right. So let me see here. I'm trying to find it. Not sure where it was, but there it is. Copy adjustments, and then I can go to this file, and then I can just say apply adjustments, and it automatically will apply everything that I set to every other photo that was selected. So it does the whole group of them all at once, which I think is a fantastic. Like if you're doing a whole portrait session or anything like that, it makes it super easy to copy everything all over the place. What else do we want to talk about here? I don't want to keep you guys too much. The cataloging is quite fast, I've found, as far as selecting a new photo and then zooming in on a photo and waiting for the refresh is fairly quick. So I found that to be pretty nice. So as you can see, this particular one, it actually copied my mask as well. So, if you're going to do masking, keep that in mind. So let's just, it even copied it to that. Look at that. That's cool. So let's see here. Pick one that we didn't edit here. I didn't copy to all of them. The things you take pictures of while you're on a whale watch waiting for whales to show up. This would be birds everywhere. But the whales did show up. There is one right there. We got a wave of whale tail. I actually got quite a few whales show up. Even a parent showed up. I don't know where that's at. It's a pretty... There they are. That's the mom and the baby whale. So that was pretty cool. We were 25 miles offshore when we took this photo. It was pretty cool. So, all right. I don't know if you guys have any questions or not. Remember, I am doing the get-together afterwards. If anybody's interested, you can join me on Patreon for a live hangout. We can talk about the features of Phase 1, Capture 1. And we can hang out, and we can talk about anything that you guys want to talk about. It's totally up to you, but you do have to be a member of my Patreon channel, so check that out. It's patreon.com/the Explorographer. And it's all different tiers, and you don't have to be any specific tier in order to participate in the live events. So if you just do the $1 thing, I think you can even get in for that. I'm not sure. You'd have to go over there and check out the levels and find out. But if you have questions on this software, I think this is a piece of software that I'm probably going to use in 2017 for the first time as my main processing software, just to see how it goes. Now, it might not last, and I might not be able to stick with it, but I'm going to try it. It's been hard with other pieces of software, but Phase 1's been around for a while, and they make, obviously they're involved with amazing cameras as well, so they're their processing engine for RAW, to me, seems to be better than Adobe's. And I know that's hard to say because I've always used Lightroom, always used Adobe. I've always been, kind of an Adobe guy. And I'm still have Adobe Lightroom, and I'm still going to use it here and there. But I think right now, for my basic processing, I am going to move to the Phase 1. And I'm not, I'm a paid customer, so I don't get any free software from those guys at all. They don't do anything like that. So I'm just being honest and whatnot. So hopefully you guys will join me if you want to hang out. Go over to the Patreon page. You'll see a link over there if you're a subscriber, and I'll get that session started. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks you guys for hanging out with me tonight and joining me for the first broadcast. I appreciate you coming out and doing this. It's Saturday night, and what are we doing? We're hanging out on the computer. That's geeky cool in my book. But yeah, so thanks guys, and we'll be doing another one of these next week, and we'll be talking about something else, a different piece of software. Maybe I'll do a special on lenses or something. I'm not sure yet. It's up in the air. And listen, if you're on Patreon and you're a subscriber, you can suggest things for us to talk about. So that's another cool feature. You can say, hey man, I'd like to vote on, let's talk about lenses, and I will do that for you guys. So, all right, great. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm AD, and I will see you guys next time.